Lorwyn First Light, a new setting for Dungeons and Dragons. I gotta admit, it's not exactly my cup of tea. GameMasters here, and the word whimsy is defined as playfully quaint or fanciful behavior or humor. If I had to sum up Lorwyn First Light into one word, whimsy would be it. I'm not saying it's bad, it's just not my style of D&D. But regardless, I want to present this to you, take a deep dive into it so that you can decide for yourself if it's worth it for you and your table. Similar to Asterian's Book of Hungers and Netherill's Fall, Lorwyn was included if you bought the Forgotten Realms Unlimited bundle. If you held out and just want to grab it separately, it's right at $15 over on D&D Beyond. It's a digital-only product, so don't go running to your post box looking for it to arrive. That all said, let's jump into Lorwyn First Light. This digital supplement is broken down into an introduction, 4 chapters, and the credits. Now, like I've done with the other books that we've looked at, I want to first check out the credits page. Again, I feel that the folks that work on these things are mostly behind the scenes and don't get the exposure that they should. Even though I'm not a fan of this particular setting, I still want to give these designers, developers, artists, all of them, I want to give them recognition. Now, jumping into the introduction, and we are given an overview of what Lorwyn as a setting is. It also explains that it originated as a plane in the multiverse of Magic the Gathering, that the first Lorwyn Shadowmoor card set came out back in 2007. The side setting called Shadowmoor, okay, it breaks down like this. Lorwyn is to be seen as a vibrant, full of color area. Think colorful creeks, bright flowers, rich green forests, cozy villages, that kind of thing. Shadowmoor is its opposite. Things here are bathed in gloom and dark fog. Think sharp rocky terrain, skeletal forests, nearly abandoned villages, fields of rot, and starved vegetation. Both of these environments are considered a Fey realm, and as this supplement states, great adventure can be found throughout Lorwyn Shadowmoor. Humans are extremely few and far between, with many areas and even stretches having never even heard of one, let alone see one. Lorwyn's creatures are generally bubbly and happy, whereas the ones in Shadowmoor tend to be unpredictable and violent. The introduction continues with a brief overview of what each chapter will contain. Chapter 1 is all about character creation, backgrounds, feats, and we get some new species found in this supplement as well. Chapter 2 is a Gazetteer, which is broken down into 2 sections, one which details the locations found in Lorwyn, and the other details the locations found in Shadowmoor. Chapter 3 gives to us stat blocks for various creatures, and this chapter would really be for the Dungeon Master's eyes only. Chapter 4 is also for DM's eyes only, as it details out a map and some adventure concepts to run the players through. The rest of the introduction goes over exactly what Lorwyn and Shadowmoor are, as well as the Eclipsed Realms, as well as key characters that are kind of holding this realm together. And it also details out the setting's history. Essentially, if you played the Magic the Gathering set that this is inspired from, these sections help to fill in the gaps of that card set's storyline and how it kind of all fits into the minutia of Dungeons and Dragons. Up next is Chapter 1. Chapter 1 is all about character options should you want to create up something and play in this setting. For backgrounds, there are 2 to choose from, the Lorwyn Expert and the Shadowmoor Expert. The Lorwyn Expert has you coming from the lands of Lorwyn, whereas the Shadowmoor Expert background cites that you know all there is to know about, Shadowmoor. Each one requires its respective feat, which in this supplement there are only 2. Child of the Sun for Lorwyn, and Shadowmoor Hexer for Shadowmoor. These are both origin feats, but the Child of the Sun gives to you advantage on saving throws made to avoid or end the blinded condition, plus you'll learn the spell Fairy Fire. The Shadowmoor Hexer feat allows you to always have the Hex spell prepared, and once you've hit a creature with Hex, they will also take psychic damage equal to your proficiency bonus. In this setting, you have the opportunity to play as the following species: the Boggart, elves, fairies, flamekin, and kithkin. There's a section here that details out how to adapt these species to this setting, further detailing their demeanor, depending on if they come from either Lorwyn or from Shadowmoor. But also included are two new species, the Lorwyn changeling and the Ramekin. The Lorwyn changeling is a shapeshifter of sorts, kind of as depicted in the name there, right? They are a fae with a speed of 30 feet. They can reshape themselves from humanoid shape to that of a four-legged beast, and back again. Plus, they have dark vision out to 120 feet and are proficient with the performance skill, and provided that they don't have disadvantage when making an initiative roll, they can take the dash action as a reaction. The Ramekin can be found either in Lorwyn or in Shadowmoor, and are kind of a subset of the flamekin. But these flames from these guys, they burn cold instead of hot. They are humanoid and have a speed of 30 feet and know the Ray of Frost cantrip. Upon reaching level 3, they learn the Ice Knife spell, and at level 5, they learn the Flame Blade spell, and always have those spells prepared. They have resistance to cold damage and have dark vision out to 60 feet. Now, I am a fan of these two new species. I think both are kind of neat and could be fun as a character to run some players through these adventures. I also like the layout of Chapter 2. This setting's Gazetteer. I've been a fan of Gazetteers going back all the way to the early D&D days. I'm happy to see that they're bringing these back to kind of an extent in 5th edition. In the supplement, the key locations are, of course, found all in Lorwyn and in Shadowmoor. The section covering Lorwyn goes over 6 main locations, and within each, it also details out some specific reasons to visit that location, for the players to visit those locations. They're more or less adventure hook ideas. For example, one of the reasons to visit Burrington is called Bottled Fire. Here the characters are hired to investigate accidents at Burrington's Bottled Fire workshops. The one that invented them suspects arson, so she hires the players to investigate. Then you have other locations. These are short little, sometimes one-sentence descriptions of other locations in Lorwyn. For example, it tells us that Goldmeadow is a small farming community known for its rolling fields, goats, and a small town. It's really up to the DM to flesh these out, but there's 10 in all for Lorwyn. The Gazetteer section for Shadowmoor contains 4 total locations, along with reasons to visit, and also lists out 7 other locations. Again, these are roughly a single paragraph in description. Now, Chapter 3 is all about the beasts found in this setting. The bestiary explains what all creatures can be found in this setting, first detailing out how to adapt fairies, scarecrows, and treefolk to the setting. Basically, it states that should you want to have the players encounter, for example, fairies, that you should use the pixie or sprite stat block that's found in the monster manual. Want them to encounter scarecrows? Use the scarecrow stat block. Stuff like that. The real meat of this chapter, though, is the new creature it gives us. Giants. Okay, but these are Lorwyn and Shadowmoor giants, so technically they are new, but we also get the incarnation of transience and the incarnation of vibrance. Incarnations are the physical representation of abstract ideas. Think curiosity, relief, or terror made tangible. Both are monsters of neutral alignment, both can shapeshift, but the interesting thing about them is depending on their location, either in Lorwyn or in Shadowmoor, they may act different. For example, in Lorwyn, the incarnation of vibrance, crops will flourish, but when in Shadowmoor, invasive plants may grow instead. The marrow is a new species found here as well. Again, there are 2 versions, one for each area. The marrow Harengur is found in Lorwyn, while the Shadowmoor marrow is found in Shadowmoor. These are more or less merfolk-type creatures. Noggles are, I don't know, honestly, jackasses. I think a lot of people are going to immediately want to play as a Noggle. They're bipedal donkeys. We get 2 of them, the Noggle Ransacker and the Noggle Wild Mage. I don't even know where to begin with these guys. They just come across as kind of chaotic and fun. The Ransacker, and again, these are presented as monsters for your players to go up against, but the Ransacker, as the name implies, just seeks out places to ransack. They aren't there to steal, they just treat the world as a big, massive, all-inclusive rage room. The Noggle Wild Mage is kind of the same thing, only they can also kind of sling spells at you. Chapter 4, as we mentioned earlier, is also for the Dungeon Master eyes only. The Aegith is a Kithkin village in Lorwyn. Provided to us in this chapter is a map of Aegith, which is more of a hub for the adventures to stem from. The first section of this chapter is almost a mini Gazetteer for this town, complete with map and descriptions of the area. What I'm showing here, this is the player's map. We are provided with 2 sample adventures, and I'm not going to go into details about what they're about, kind of spoilers and all, but I will say that they are a good bit more than just one sentence. If you've looked at the new Forgotten Realms adventures in Faerun book and have seen the setup of the one-page adventures listed there, you'll kind of have an idea of how these 2 adventures are presented. Both contain enough information to get you up and out there and adventuring, but both will also require a bit of fleshing out to make them truly epic. They contain the overall situation of what's going on, the hook to entice the players, and also contain a list of encounters as well as what happens should the players complete the adventure. Stuff like how much experience to award, how much gold to give, that kind of thing. And that, guys, is what this new supplement, Lorwyn First Light, is all about. Now, at the top of this video, I flat out, straight up stated that this setting was not my cup of tea. Hang with me for just a few more minutes because I want to explain that. So, I'm kind of a traditionalist when it comes to Dungeons & Dragons role-playing. I like the darker and grittier game. I'm not much of a fan of the whimsical. That's not to say that we don't goof around and have fun at my table. We just don't play much in the Fey realm. We're more Conan the Barbarian and Lord of the Rings, Call the Conqueror for a really good throwback there. I like elements of this supplement, but to use it exactly as it is, I just can't see me and my table having much use of it. I think it goes without say that I'd be more apt to run them through the Shadowmoor because, again, dark and gritty. And while that could easily be an option, I think that ultimately I'd just end up sticking with already established settings like in areas like the Underdark. What I do like with what they've done, and in this can extend to Asterian's Book of Hungers and Netherill's Fall as well, back in the 1980s, during the time when I got into the game, we had what were called modules. These were cover-to-cover adventures, usually about 30 pages or so. Some were a little longer, some were a little shorter, but it gave the Dungeon Master an instant all-you-need area to run a group of adventures or a group of players through an adventure. I've been saying for a long while now that Wizards of the Coast needs to bring that element back. What we've gotten all throughout 5th edition, especially with later books, is a combination of DM material combined into the same book with player material. With these 3 new supplements, they still do that. Give the player material in form of player options for creating either a vampiric character or a Fey character, and then turn around in the same supplement and give information that it's for DM's eyes only. And they're at least doing something and putting out there a smaller chunk of material for us to consume. Put another way, imagine if they put together something like this once a month. That's 12 new adventures that are, by all rights, somewhat affordable. I mean, $15 a month. It would be one hell of a way to offer up to both players and DMs new material on a regular basis. I'd be one for that, albeit I'd still rather it all be in physical format, but that's a tired complaint from me at this point. I'll also say that by having these come out once a month, that, like this one, this Lorwyn First Light, I'm not that much into it, but it's not enough to drive me away from the game. It's not a $60 book that turned out to be worthless at my table, and I can ignore and simply wait until the next month to see what may entice me with that supplement. Now, couple that with the possibility of churning out seasonal material. Imagine a fantastic horror-based supplement right as October begins, or a fun holiday-themed one as December begins. Put another way, if I was making decisions, that's exactly what I would do. And to that end, I have a question for all of you. But first, I want to thank everyone for watching, and I especially want to thank all of my YouTube members and Patreon supporters, as their contributions to the channel have made it so that I can simply ignore emails asking me to play sponsored ads into my videos. I'm not a fan of sponsored ad segments either, so I really have to thank my supporters for their support. If you would like to see how you can support this channel, I'll leave a link to my Patreon down in the description. It's also right down below me here. As for the question that I have for all of you, while Lorwyn First Light isn't likely to be a hit at my table, would it be for yours? Or is this a supplement that you are likely to pass on? Or is it exactly what you've been looking for? I will say that with the right group, I think that this could have me peeing my pants with laughter. But what say you? Tell me your thoughts on it down in the comments. And until next our paths cross, may you not find yourself stuck in an unfamiliar setting or peeing your pants.